Welcome, guys, to another episode of A1 Agents. I've got my boy, my guy. I met him at a Craig Wiggins event, CWC event, where he spoke and he just added a lot of value to me and agency owners. Mr. Daniel Austin. What's going on, Daniel?
Right on. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
So Daniel started his insurance agency journey selling credit cards retail before becoming a producer for an agency in 2011. He then went on to buy an agency in 2017, starting his agency ownership journey, and has since then grown it to a $6 million insurance agency, primarily through his branding, building solid relationships with COI, center of influences, and what I think he's really great at is building an awesome agency culture. He's one heck of a leader. And so, Daniel, thank you for being with us.
Yeah, man. I'm excited.
If you don't mind, tell my audience about you and your story and how this all came about.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I was going through college, not doing so hot, working retail at the time. And so my father was doing small business lending. So he was working on an agency purchase for another Allstate agent. And so through the small talk of the sales process, asked what his family did and all of his kids. And he had mentioned I sold the credit cards at a retail shop. So the agency owner said, well, if he can sell credit cards, he can sell insurance. Okay. So he shows up in my work in my retail shop, interviews me on the spot and says, hey, if you want to do this, this is what you're looking at. So I took a pay cut going to insurance, but I had the opportunity, as far as a base, had the opportunity to earn more money on commissions. So I decided, I was like, I was barely making college, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to take this leap and see where this leads. And so I took that jump. I took it and started studying for my test in 2010. And then finally, by April 1st of 2011, I had all my tests done and started with Allstate. And it's kind of history since then, but that's originally how I got started. Just selling credit cards, and through a network of referrals, I was able to get into the insurance field. And I mentioned this before, but when I started was April 1st, 2011. And my whole mindset going in is sell. That's all I cared about. And so, I was doing credit card sales. I said, man, I'm going to be the top salesperson. I've always been a salesperson at heart. Well, 27 days later, that's when we had a tornado outbreak in the South, one of the largest tornado outbreaks in the Southeast. And so within 27 days, I kind of realized what I sold and what I was doing is a lot bigger than what I thought it was. We're protecting people, we're protecting their assets, their cars, their homes. We're putting everything back to where it was prior to these claims. So very quickly did I adjust my mindset of what I was doing. I wasn't just going to sell. I needed to take the time. I needed to have those conversations and help protect people, because we're the last line of defense if something were to happen. So very quickly, I kind of learned more about the insurance field. Because of that, I never wish for it to ever happen again. But because of that, I learned a lot about how insurance works very quickly in the game, where we might not have another catastrophe like that ever in my lifetime. We don't know. So I learned a lot from it. And that's kind of where I realized that this is something I could be a little bit more long-term than what I was expecting right off the bat.
I like that. I totally jotted that down. We are customers' first line of defense. That's pretty powerful, man. And I think we're all guilty of the original mindset is sell, let's get rich, and that's going to come, right? But same with me, man. I think in my first 2 years, it was just, let me just sell and stay afloat. And then that mindset changes the longer you're in it. It's like, you know what, we've been doing this wrong. It's not just matching coverage and dollar for dollar. It's actually doing what's right for people. And at least trying to educate them. So I love that, man. And
we still have that mindset. We're still sell. We just do it in a whole different way than what we originally, we didn't care or at least myself, I didn't really care what I was selling in the beginning. Now I care what I sell, but we still have to sell. But now we're taking that, it's not a 5 to 10 minute quote. We're doing a 30 to 45 minute quote, because we're taking that time So still same mindset of selling, but we just had to change the way we were selling.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm glad, I'm not glad it happened, but because of that, I got to learn a lot more and educate myself a lot more on insurance and what it actually was. So, because I think I was what, 23 at the time, 22 at the time. So,
And we both come from a very similar background in banking. I was a credit card champion for a little bit in my banking days, man. I was selling so many. They're like, "You're the credit card champion." I'm like, "All right, cool."
man,
Back
that's
then, they're
exact same. Yeah, it's exact same. Like they threw me. It was a Gainer Mouse. It was an outdoor store, and so they opened up their own credit card, through Mastercard, and so they just started throwing employees up there. Okay, hey, you take 2 hours. You take 2 hours. And I went up there. I think my first 2 hours, I think I had 16 or something sold. And they're like, "Wow, that's unreal." And so after that, same thing. I mean, I never got called the credit card king, unfortunately, but very similar to that. That's great. They had me teach a class on how to sell credit cards.
yeah,
I was 20. Gosh, I forgot what I was. I mean, I was probably actually 19 at the time. I didn't know what I was doing,
yeah.
but I just knew I wanted to sell because I was making money off of it. So.
They were paying us $20 a credit card, and to me, that was like huge. I'm like, "What? $20 a card? Let's do this!" Yeah.
Oh, yes. That's
So,
great.
uh, so Daniel, what state are you in?
Tennessee.
Tennessee. Okay,
Tennessee.
awesome.
Yeah.
And so, a question I have for you is, you are one of the few people that I've had on my show that started out as a producer, and and then went on to buy an agency and then to go the entrepreneurship route. So I would love for you to talk about that, because a large part of my audience is just getting started. They're just getting property and casualty licensed, and a lot of them are messaging me and asking me for, advice on this stuff. And you're one of the few that can speak into that, as far
Yeah.
as what steps you took, what mindset you had, and kind of how that all came to fruition. And you actually delivered on that, which is something that doesn't really happen. So can you talk about that, your producer days, and then that transition into agency ownership?
Yeah, yeah. So, very quickly, like I was saying, I learned more about what insurance really covered. I would say between probably the first year, I realized ownership is what I wanted to do eventually. But to me, I wasn't ready. I was, 23 or so at the time. I wasn't ready to own a business at that time. I needed more education. I need to learn more about the ins and the outs of the business. So I never jumped into it too quickly. I was a producer for 6 years before I decided I was going to, buy. But in those 6 years, I learned everything I need to learn. I learned about the owner and his son. They were, a managing duo. They taught me everything I need to know on how to run a business and how to run an insurance agency. So I took those 6 years. I did a lot of networking, tons of networking events. I was in networking groups every single week, 2 days a week. I was out networking in the community. So I was trying to build my personal, my personal book, my personal brand outside of that. And then I started to dabble with, social media more because it's getting more and more popular. So I started making, I made my own Facebook group, and then I had people start following, started building my own content. And so it took me time just because I wasn't ready to jump the gun. And I guess it depends on the person. I know some very successful agents that just jumped in being an owner and didn't have that prior experience. To me, that's not what I wanted to do. Well, it wasn't even an option at first, but I didn't want to jump in too quick because honestly, I was afraid of failure. I was afraid I don't know enough to run a business at the age of 22, 23, or whatever that age was at that time. I didn't honestly believe in myself at that point. So go about 3 years down the road, I was like, okay, I'm ready. I want to buy. I don't want to start scratch. I wanted to buy a book, and books aren't like what they are now. They were hard to get back then. So I talked to the management team with Allstate, and they finally came to me a few years later and said, hey, we got 2 books available. You got, book A and book B, and which locations. And I, sat down and finally talked about which one I wanted. Obviously I went with a bigger one because I wanted that premium, right off the bat. So we ended up purchasing the larger book of the 2 at the time, which is The Next City Over. which wasn't too bad, but we moved the family and moved over because we wanted to be in the community where the business was. But it took time for me, just all because I think I was afraid of failure. Even to the point where I didn't even want to start scratch because I was afraid of the failure of starting scratch, because that's a lot harder. Now since then, I probably wouldn't have any problem starting a scratch agency now, but and even our second location, which was an ECP, was a very extremely small book that we had purchased. But I used those 6 years to do nothing but just work on myself, my branding, my marketing, my networking. I made relationships then that I'm still using today within the business. So I think you got to get yourself out there, especially if you're new. You got to get out there and you got to explore these networking groups and events, the chamber events, all that kind of stuff. You've got to get out and put yourself out into the community, because those relationships last.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. And can you talk about, I want to stay on that networking subject real quick. Can you talk about what are some of the things that you've done to be a successful networker? I think that it's really a skill.
It is. It's a personality more than anything. You've got to be outgoing. So I've met a lot of people. I've taken some of my producers even now, because we'll go to some networking events. It's just a lot less than when I was doing it by myself. So my producers go. So if I have a new producer, we'll go to a networking event, and they're extremely quiet. I tell you, you can't be quiet. Go up, shake as many hands, get as many business cards as possible. You've got to have these relationships. You can't sit in the corner and drink a cup of coffee and just listen to the speech. You've got to be outgoing. You've got to go out there. We had a group called REO, which is very similar to like a B&I group. Those were the best. I mean, you're talking, you had 20 to 25 individuals that are just like you, sales oriented, that wanted to do something big. And so we joined some of those groups as well. But the big thing is, it's all about personality. You got to have that outgoing and that bubbly personality, because if you're quiet and you're a little nervous and scared, the conversations are going to be dull. They're going to be boring. The last thing you want is an awkward silence in a conversation. You don't want the person yawning. So anything like that, it's all more about personality. I believe in that. But I think the networking group I was in it for 4 years. And we've had a lot of people come in and out of that before. And you could tell the ones that came in that were quiet didn't last more than a few months. And you got to have that personality to get in there and to succeed in that, I believe.
Yeah, and I heard some amazing advice that I would love to share. This is my first time sharing this, and it's this, and I'm totally guilty of this, is when you're ever in a networking event or an event where there's just people, so maybe it's a mastermind, maybe it's a seminar, maybe it's your office, maybe you walk into your office or a mortgage office, whatever that is. Make sure you walk in smiling, because you're a lot more approachable if you're smiling versus not smiling. And I'm guilty of that. Like I could see on my YouTube videos sometimes where I'm not smiling. I just got this straight face, and my tonality, everything is completely different when I'm smiling and I'm doing it. And it's kind of hard to talk like this as you're just constantly smiling, but it makes you a lot more approachable. It makes people feel more comfortable coming up to you. So
Yeah,
if you're an introvert and you're not as outgoing, start there. I think that people will just feel more comfortable going up to you, I think.
absolutely. Yeah, I love that. I catch myself doing that, just even when I'm by myself. Even if I'm driving and I look in the mirror and I look so mean, I look so mad, but I'm having a great day. And it's just, you guys remember to smile in everything you do. And so, and I smile, and I'm one to point out my staff. Now they don't point me out, and I wish they would. Maybe they should more often. But smile. What are y'all smiling about? Are you not happy? Or if they seem like they're upset, or you can just tell by their expressions. I want to know why. And most of the time it's like, oh, nothing. I'm just sitting here. I'm just working. I was like, well, smile. Be happy, be excited. Think about what you're doing for all these people. So that's a good point, though. Yeah, I got to work on that myself. Because
We all do, man. We all do.
yeah.
Well, it's like, that's not we're doing it intentionally. We're just thinking about the 78 things we need to do, you know?
Oh, exactly.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. But so, Daniel, my audience needs to know that I don't give this praise to, I don't think I've given this exact praise that I'm about to give to you, to anybody else that I've ever had on my show. And that is, your, how you built your agency thus far, with your marketing, with your center of influences, with your relationships. You're doing something, especially with social media, guys. If you guys, I don't think that there are anybody that, I don't think there's anybody out there that does TikToks and reels and puts themselves out there in a way that's, I mean, I'm gonna toot my horn here. That's just as good as mine.
Well, if you did toot your own, I was fixing to follow up with, I get a lot from you and following and watching you. So toot away, man.
No, so when I started watching his stuff, you would put out stuff that when I heard the sound, like the Wolf of Wall Street one, like I'm not leaving, I'm not freaking leaving,
Yeah.
and then so you'll come out with stuff, and I'm like, how did I not think of that? And so you have such a creative mind, and your early success in your agency ownership is certainly because I feel that you've built solid relationships with people. You're not afraid to put yourself out there. You're shameless in your self promotion, and you're encouraging your team to do the same thing, which is what I preach. I preach this, and I don't see a lot of people taking action on that. I think it's becoming inevitable where people have to put out content now moving forward, aside from these like basic looking Instagram pages where they're like, stock photos of a cup of coffee saying like, get your insurance review today. Like
Yeah.
that stuff doesn't work, guys. That stuff doesn't work. And so I've got to acknowledge you for that. And for anybody in my audience that is watching, they've got to follow you. So, so I'll make sure I drop
Awesome.
your stuff. But how, how is that natural for you, or is that something you have to get out of your comfort zone? Like what inspired you to think that way?
No, growing up, I'm always that wild, different, goofy kid when I was growing up. I always, now we didn't have cameras and social media growing up. I mean, I think we're very similar in age, close to it, I'd say. But we didn't have social media when we were teenagers and stuff, or I did it. So we didn't have the platform we have now, but I was always in pictures and videos. I was always the fun and goofy one. Um, and then, so I started social media. I started having some fun with it, but it's not seriously until I would dab in a little bit, fun post, not really since probably the last 2 years when I've really started taking it more serious. And even now I fall back, like, I haven't posted something, well, I posted something today, but before that I haven't posted stuff in a few days. And I gotta be more consistent, and that falls back on me. It's just, you get tied up with work. So what I'm starting to do is start to play with, scheduling my post out and go and have posting it and just having them scheduled, because I get busy just like everyone else, and I forget to post for 3 or 4 days, and that doesn't look good. But no, I've always been that fun, outgoing kind of that guy, and so it just worked out on the social media, especially the TikTok side, where I can finally kind of be myself on camera, so to speak. So what I would do, I jump on some trends that I see, and those are fun. But then I would start thinking of like, what are the most popular movies out there? And then what do I know? What are some of the most iconic lines of that movie, and how can I relate to insurance? So yeah, Wolf of Wall Street. I think I got like Dumb and Dumber. I got Step Brothers. I'm just trying to think of, and of course they're mostly comedies because that's what I want. Um, but I try to think of the most iconic movies that people could all have all seen, could all relate to, and try to take that and to put those in TikTok. So um, it's fun. I like making my own stuff versus jumping on a trend and doing whatever other 30 million people are doing. I like make my own TikToks and try to twist them into insurance, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, so people can have fun, because insurance, it can be dull and boring. It depends on how your approach and how you look at it. And I want people to think it's not. It doesn't have to be. I could own a hot dog stand, and I'm going to make it probably the most fun hot dog stand I can. So it's whatever you do, just make it fun. Make people kind of open their eyes and realize how much fun your job or your career is. And so that's kind of the way I took it. But I absolutely love it. I love doing it. I just need to be more consistent with it. So
Yeah. No, I love your stuff, man, and you inspire me in that way. And can you talk about how putting yourself out there and how social media has I'm pretty sure your process for building COIs and mortgage officers and loan officers is different than your social media process. But would you say that the social your by putting yourself out there and promoting yourself like that, it adds to your
Oh
COIs
gosh,
because they're
yeah,
constantly seeing you?
absolutely, yeah, yeah. Because we're Facebook and Instagram friends and followers on all of our networks with these lenders and real estate agents and what else. So yeah, when they see that and then I see that, that they laughed at my videos or laughed at my posts, that makes me feel good because, I'm not with them. Maybe I haven't seen them in a week to 2 weeks, but I know it's bringing them joy and it's bringing them laughter while they're at their office. It's just another way to kind of stay in front of them in a fun way versus bothering them, once a week by showing up at their offices. So,
Yep.
it's just a fun little thing that we do, but no, it absolutely ties into it. I think that just it concretes the relationships even more. And we've got some very strong relationships. We've got some that aren't as strong, and we're trying to concrete that more. But yeah, anything that we do social media wise, it's going to play a part.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, when I see that like or that smile or that love, emoji that's being added or expression, I know that they saw it. I know that they liked it enough to do something towards it. They
Yeah.
reacted to it in some way. So I know they loved it. It brought them laughter throughout the day, and that's just another way to stay in front of
Yeah. And can you talk about, because a lot of your business that you're writing is coming from COIs. I
them. Yeah.
remember in your presentation, a lot of that's come. How have you established those relationships? Is that just people that you knew, or were they like you just randomly called a bunch of offices, you walking into random offices? Like, how do you build partnerships?
Yeah. Well, what it started off by when I was a producer under that other agency, they had another agent that was a mortgage broker in the past, and now he was an insurance agent. That's where it first unlocked for me on you need to build those relationships because he was getting tons of leads from these mortgage brokers because he had knew them for 20 years when he was a broker. And so that's what opened my eyes to it. And so I said, okay, well, I'm going to do the same thing. He's got his little network of brokers. I'm going to start doing the same thing. And it just started with, a phone call or an email of just, introducing myself and asking to go grab coffee or lunch or whatever. Um, and what's so important, you got to build a relationship on it. It's not I stopped by their office and dropped off cards. I should be getting some leads any day now. It's not like that. It takes time. I think there's only one time I can ever think of where we went to an office and they started sending us leads immediately because their insurance agent had just retired like 2 weeks prior. And they're
Mm,
like, well, we've been looking for a new insurance agent. That's rare. It takes months to build these relationships, years. I mean, I still work with lenders I've known for 2 years now, and we're still not 100% in there. We're probably 75%. We still get a lot of business, but not as much as I'd like. But all it is relationship building. And I think a lot of people go in the mindset, well, I visited them twice this past month and I haven't got anything. I'm going to stop. And you can't do that. You got to keep going. Just make a friend, find them on social media, follow them on social media, like their post, share if they've got a post about new loan rates, share it. That share in front of your 1,000, 2,000 friends is a lot more than their 500 friends that they might have. So it's just simple stuff, tactics like that, where you just kind of, build those relationships, keep them solid. But no, I actually got it from another LSP at one point, and then finally started doing it on my own. And now we just have a blast with it. Some of the most fun we have is when we come up with new and fresh ideas for our lenders. So
yeah. Yeah. Man, I like that it's not like this secret secret sauce. It's just like what you
yeah,
said. What you just explained is very boring and takes work.
yeah,
To build
yeah,
those relationships, and a lot of times we think that there's some secret. How are you building how are you building partnerships? How are you building loan officers? How are you getting them to send you business? And it takes some time. It takes some watering of that seed,
yeah.
and
It's a
it's not
friendship.
going to
I
happen
mean, you
overnight.
can't grow a friendship overnight. It takes time to grow a friendship. So same concept. And then it's just all about staying in front of them once you get the relationship. So we're not in
Yeah.
there every 2 to 3 weeks, but we're in there, usually once a month, once every 5 weeks, just to stop in. And when we're not there, that's where the social media comes into play.
Yeah. And social media, man, once the relationship, so if I noticed that with social media, it's hard to build a relationship without seeing somebody in person. Seldomly can somebody just connect with you on social media and then they just like feel connected to you and then start sending you stuff. A lot of
Right.
times, the the meeting someone in person followed up with like when they can see you and feel your energy and know who you are, follow that up with the social media presence. Now it's like me, like you and me, like I've met you before. So even though we're just on this Zoom call, like I've seen how tall you are. You know, you're a large guy.
Are you over 6 foot?
Oh yeah, so you saw my post
I,
yesterday.
I was like,
So
I'm pretty sure he was pretty tall when I saw
no, so some context there. Uh,
him.
pe- People, employees, and people over the internet when they see me in person, they're like, "Dude, I thought you were short," and I think it's because I have a short torso and long legs, and so I guess from my pictures I look like I'm like 5'8" or like 5'6", but you know what? But I'm like 5'11 and a half without shoes. So when you put them shoes on, man, I'm
We're gonna
six
round
foot,
up.
man.
Yeah, we're
I'm
gonna
six
round
foot,
up.
man. We're rounding up, baby. So anyway, that's pretty funny. But back to what I was saying is I know who you are, and so I feel a lot more comfortable with you. And if I didn't meet you, maybe getting you on this on my show, my YouTube channel wouldn't have been as easy. But you know, but because we've met, I think it makes a whole difference, man. And so I love that. And can you talk about what some of the creative things you're doing to water those relationships once you've established them?
Yeah, I mean, just what was it, 2 weeks ago, we did nothing. We just stood back, but we ordered flowers and had them delivered to the office as, happy springtime from us. It didn't go to a specific person. It just went to the whole office. We
I
just sent
like
the
that.
office flowers, a spring. It cost me $50 in office that we sent it to, but it's not going towards, one lender or one processor. It went to the whole office. We want to say, hey, happy springtime. Now it was a beautiful day, 70 degrees, first time it hit 70 for the year. Everyone's excited. So we sent like 4 offices, we sent them flowers to say, hey, happy springtime. That's it. We didn't say, hey, happy springtime, send us some leads today. We need to finish up this month strong. No, we don't say that. We just stay in front of them like that. We go by their offices, like I said, every month to 5 weeks or so, we'll swing by their office. Might, take some candy or some little sweets or something if we feel like it. But the best thing that we can do for a lender is introduce them to more real estate agents. That's what lenders are to us. And so if you can build a relationship and give some real estate agents over to some of your lenders, that's where they get all their leads from, just how we get our leads from the lenders. So, the candy's cool, the cookies are great, that people bring it by here, restoration companies, car companies, whatever, and I eat them, and that's fine. But are they going to benefit my business at all? Are they giving me any kind of business? And I think when you talk about COIs, lenders think about that kind of stuff too. And so we love to have these introduction networking events called show and sells. We've done a few of those. I know a few other agents have tried them, been very successful with show and sells. And so, but give them someone that can refer them as well. And it's not we don't go after real estate agents. We love real estate agents. We've got pretty good sized network of real estate agents too. But we focus more time on the lenders because they're the ones that are closing 15 to 20 homes a month. A real estate agent might sell 1 to 2 a month, which is a great month for a real estate agent. Lead wise, obviously I want to go for the person that's giving out, 15 to 20 homes. So, but we still build those relationships and we just kind of bond them. We just want this perfect little triangle of them, real estate agents and ourselves. And that lender's never going to forget what you did when you introduce them to 1 or 2 new real estate agents. And so we kind of have a rule. We don't want, one real estate agent being passed around to 5 lenders. We don't want any kind of competition like that. So we're very cautious on that. But anytime we're going to networking events, you could probably run into at least 5 to 6 real estate agents on a networking event. Grab their card, grab some coffee, maybe make it a group coffee and bring a lender with you and just let them do the work. Let them secure that relationship. You just sit back and enjoy it because you're kind of the matchmaker. Okay. So, but that's the best thing you can do. Like I said, we've done some fun other stuff, but the only thing that you can really do that really matters is build relationships with real estate agents to give to those lenders.
Man, That's some powerful stuff, man. I love the happy springtime. Oh my goodness. You know, you guys, I know when I just spoke with Greg Blanchard, and there is so much that I'm 5 years in, and I'm just observing game, man. There's so much that I can be doing that can step my game up 100%.
Gosh,
And
Blanchard, he's a king at referrals and COIs too. So
yeah,
it'd be at one point, that's the level I want to be at, because he's got it solid. He does. And we're still
and I
tweaking
think
it, you know,
and
it takes
I
time.
think, man, it's what's so valuable about that is um is that if you can build your business in such a way, it is going to make your cost per new business so much less, versus being
Yeah,
reliant on internet leads and and not having just that referral source makes your business so much more profitable. And then that profit can be used to reinvest in in more staff or
absolutely.
higher wages. And so I think it's such a powerful way to build a book like that. And man, I love it.
Well, just like, I
So
mean, just the close rates in general, you're looking at, on a 40 to 60% close rate. There's not a lot of stuff you can get with a 40% close rate, or even up to 60% on, depending on the month and the lender. Most of our, internet leads, they might have like a 3 to 5% or something, so to spend less money, now it's more time and energy because you're building friendships and relationships, but instead of spending money, spend that time, which is money, and invest in these relationships. And then they're not going to cost you, $3,000 for 100 leads. It's going to cost me some time, some friendship, a bouquet of flowers, and now we've secured that lender for the springtime, their busy season. So, but just close rate in general, it makes sense. It makes sense to go after the lenders more than anything.
yeah, absolutely. You're dropping some gems here, man. So let's move on to your agency culture. You do a lot of amazing things that you create an environment where I think your team wants to be there. I'm pretty sure your retention is above average, right?
Pretty
um,
good.
we all have retention stuff, but I'm pretty sure yours is above average. And and you've created a really fun environment for your team too. So you not only do awesome stuff for your partners and things like that, but you're doing awesome things for your team, which is probably more important in a way.
Yeah.
So talk to my audience about what some of the things you've done to build such a great culture, and what is a great culture to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you come in and you interview with me, I'm going to tell you in the interview process, in 5 years, I want you to own a business. I want you to own an insurance agency in 5 years. If you get to that point, maybe it's not for you. Maybe you don't want to be an owner. I'm going to do nothing but grow. And as I grow, I need people to grow with me. I'm going to need more managers, coaches, whatever. But what I want to do is I want to give you everything I know in 5 years. And in 5 years, I want to see you split off and do your own. Because I've been on both sides. I've been a producer and I've been an agency owner. I prefer agency owner by far, because you get to build out, your vision and your dream. So I'll let people know that, so we just hit 5 years in March. I haven't had anybody leave to open an agency, because we didn't have everyone in 5 years. But I've got two candidates that I think in the next few years, they would be great agency owners. Once again, I'm just the cautious guy I am. I tell them 5 years. It takes time to kind of get to know and understand everything. But that's why I get more joy out of seeing someone go further on in life and be successful. And I let them know that up front, because a lot of businesses don't want that. Hey, I want you to stay here for 30 years. Okay. That's different for me. I want to see you succeed in life. And if that is opening an agency, great. If it's not, grow with me. That's fine. But no, I care. I would say almost as much as my numbers, I care more about agency culture. I want people to come in here on a Monday morning when it's cold and rainy and still enjoy coming to work on a Monday morning like that. So I think the way to do that is to put yourself physically out there, which is what I've done in the past. Right now, I mean, I've grocery shopped for my staff as part of promotion. Every month we have a new promotion. So 1 month, I had to go with a grocery list and go grocery shopping for my staff. I've had to detail cars inside and out before for my staff. Instead of buying them a car wash, I'm putting myself out there in a different situation, which they love and motivate them more than anything, is to see me do awkward stuff like that. I've had to go next to the street and spin a sign before because I gave them numbers and they hit it. So I'm out there, I'm spinning a sign. I'm not very good at it, but I put myself out there and I'm going to do it. I've let people work from my office. Obviously, agency owner, and I pay all the bills. I'm going to have the better office out of everybody, TV and all that. So they get jealous. So there's promotions out there where they get to work in my office and I'll go work in theirs for a day. So I just try to put myself out there a little bit more in awkward situations where they will enjoy and produce better for that. We've got, gosh, I don't forget even where I got this from. Another agent I know, an inflatable cash cube where you get in, just like at Chuck E. Cheese when we were kids with all the tickets that spin around. I just got fake cash off Amazon, and we have promotions where, my staff get to jump into this giant cash cube with a bunch of money and they get to grab all the money. So it's just fun stuff like that. I don't want it to be boring, and I don't like a boring office. And I've had jobs in the past that were boring, and I don't want that. And so when I was building out my agency and getting better and better at this ownership stuff, which is a lot different than a producer, I started realizing I want to have more fun. I want to have more fun. I want to have more fun. So we do have a blast. I took them all to a rage room 3 months ago, just raged for 2 hours, broke glass and pictures and pots and pans. We just raged out and got rid of a bunch of stress, had a great month that month. So anything that's outside that's just a little bit different or putting yourself out there, I think goes a long way for staff. And like I said, that's what I want. I want people to enjoy coming to work every day because you never know what you're going to get with me. I could walk in with a $20 bill and say, hey, first one to sell an item gets $20. You never know what's going to happen every single day in this agency. And that's what I love about it. I think that's what they love about it too. I've only had probably 2 people, maybe 3 that have ever left me in 5 years. Others I've had to let go because of numbers or things that come up. Sales weren't good, but out of all the staff we've had, I think we've only had 2 or 3 that have actually never left, which to me is good because I want people happy where they work, and sometimes it's not a good fit, and then they get it. Some people don't like the fun stuff, but that's what I care about. I care more about my staff, making sure that they're happy in work, and just going the extra mile for them if they need it.
Wow. I love the type of leader that you are because I run my business the same exact way. Man, we have a lot in common, Daniel.
We're going to be at the top very soon. I'm feeling,
We have a lot in common from, I think, just the type of people we are, the type of leaders we are. I like what you said. You're literally like just, what is it? Pulling my heartstrings. Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
As far as wanting your team, like I want almost to a fault. I want what's better for my team.
Yeah.
Like I tell them, start your side hustle, right? As long as as long as you give me 100%, I'll give you 200% in return.
Yeah.
If you're, as
Absolutely.
long as while you're here, you are here. If you want to be a musician, I will be at all of your shows, right?
Yeah.
You want to start a t-shirt company, I'll be your first customer. Like
Yeah.
you could put me on a reoccurring monthly. I'll buy the newest t-shirt every month. Like whatever you have going on, I acknowledge that not everyone I think I'm going to treat you. And I was writing notes down as you were talking. Look, I'm going to keep on growing. And so no matter what, I'm going to keep on growing. I'm going to need managers, coaches, operations specialists. Like I'm going to need those people.
Yeah.
So you're either going to fall into one of those positions or I'm going to coach you into your own agency. And I just love that, man. I just love that. So I think it's very important. I think when our team knows that we care about them and it's not just about us and our numbers and things like that, I think it sets the tone and we inevitably get the best out of them by doing that.
Absolutely.
So
we have great numbers because of it, and I think it's because they're so happy.
yeah. So I love that, man. So I'm gonna ask you the last question that I ask everybody, and That is, it's the title of this series called A1 Agents. And basically all that means is and when I researched A1, it basically means to the highest of standards, the highest of principles. And I like to ask everybody, what are 3 standards that you either live your life by or run your business by, whatever one you feel more comfortable sharing? And so, what are 3 standards or principles that you live your life by or run your business by?
Right, but yeah, okay, well, one, it's got to be, I'll say, I guess on the business side, not more on the personal side. You got to have fun, but more importantly, you got to be compliant. I don't think anything is worth the risk of losing a business or be compliant in a different vocabulary in your personal life. Nothing is worth losing your life or losing loved ones, you know. So I think having fun, being compliant, which also I guess on the personal side could be truthful. And then third one. We've already kind of said it, but I'd like to say, you know, don't take anything too serious, which go back to your, you know, you got to smile more, which we've already talked about, but don't take everything too serious, you know, in life. There's serious moments and there's stuff, and there's times where you don't need to be as serious. You need to smile, you need to laugh, you need to enjoy your life. But that was the 3. I say, you know, let's just go with smile, be happy, and be truthful or compliant in everything you do.
All right. I love it, man. So, Daniel, how can my audience find you? I know you're on Facebook. I know you're on TikTok. I know you're on Instagram. How can they find you?
If I point right here, can you put my links up here? There you go. Just like that.
I
Or
can. I think I can.
or
I think
down
I
here.
can.
Yeah,
Let me
yeah,
ask my editor.
I think I'm just going to point every direction, and you just add them where you want to. But no, I've got you know, and here's the other thing, Nick. I don't have one username for everything that I do, just because they were taken and stuff like that. But a lot of them, yeah, I'm on Facebook. If you go find Nick, you'll find me. Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, of course, and then I've got business accounts for Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter as well. So I got business accounts for 3, more personal accounts than anything. So they're all different kind of usernames and stuff. But if you can find Nick, you can find me, and it'll be on I'm sure it'll be on the video as well somewhere. So
I'll put it in the show notes. Absolutely.
cool.
Well, you guys got to give him a follow. 1,000%. He's
Thank you.
one of the few insurance agents that's doing marketing right and branding right, in my opinion. And he also does a lot of other things right in this business too. So you guys got to check him out. Daniel, thank you so much for your time, brother.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm excited to see you again in person. So
Yep. We'll see
let's
you in
keep rock.
August.
Let's keep rocking it.
Sounds good. Thanks, man.